This is Brothers Water, just south of the village of Patterdale in the Eastern Lake District, and this has to be one of my favourite locations to shoot reflections. Obviously what you want when you're shooting reflections is perfectly still conditions, and that's exactly what we've got this morning, for the time being at least. Now you may have noticed that I've been using my telephoto lens quite a lot just recently, and there's a very, very good reason to that, which I will come to in a minute. But this is definitely not a telephoto shot. Now the reason that I've been using my telephoto lens so much just recently is because I've managed to break my 24 to 70mm lens, which is the lens that I use for about 90–95% of my shots. And so today, here I am at Brothers Water, and I want to take this wide angle shot. And so really the only option that I've got is to use this, which is my old Canon M10, which used to be my vlogging camera before I bought the M50 that I'm filming this on. It is an absolutely gorgeous morning this morning. We've got a little bit of colour in the sky and the reflections are near perfect. And it just makes me wish that I'd had my full kit with me and that I had that lens with me. So let's talk a little bit about the setup that I'm using today. With the M10 comes a 15 to 45mm lens. And I've got that set at about 18mm, which is the 35mm equivalent of something like 29mm, which is the kind of usual area that I work with my normal setup. On the front of the lens I have a polarizer, because I never take it off, and I've actually got a 2-stop soft edge grad on the sky. A 3-stop was making the sky too dark, which made it look weird. You never want your sky to be darker than your reflections. That's very important. So now I'm going to try and take the shot. Now, this is very difficult to manually focus this camera, so I'm using autofocus, but I have a touch screen which helps me get the focus exactly where I want, and I'm also using the 2-second timer. So, here we go. That looks okay. Now, with the exception of the flip-out screen, which is something that I absolutely love, there are a number of disadvantages to using the M10 over the 6D. The biggest for me is it doesn't have a bulb mode, so that means that I can't do any exposures over 30 seconds, and as you guys know, I do love a long exposure, but fortunately when conditions are like this, you can get away with shutter speeds of around a second or so. That being said, it is inevitable that at some point this morning the wind will pick up and we will lose the reflections on the lake. And so I have just slipped in a Lee little stopper, a 6-stop ND filter, and that's brought my exposure time right up to 25 seconds. And this little camera is coping quite well with that. Anyway, this video isn't supposed to be about why all of a sudden I have gone mirrorless. This video is all about breaking gear. So let's get onto that. I think the first thing to say about breaking gear is that if it does happen to you, if you are unlucky enough for that to happen, don't worry too much about it. It is an inevitable factor of photography. If you shoot for long enough, something is going to happen and you are going to damage your gear. So if that does happen, don't beat yourself up about it. Now there are of course things that we can do to reduce the chances that we will break our gear, and we'll come to those in a minute. But probably the best thing you can do before you break any gear is to make sure that you're properly insured. Now many of us will be covered by our home contents insurance, but I also have specific camera insurance on my photography gear. I use a company called PhotoGuard. It costs me about £10 a month to insure all my gear, and it gives me peace of mind when I'm out in the field. When I broke my lens, my camera was actually on the tripod at the time. I used these lightweight Velbond travel tripods. And in the last 12 months, these tripods have gone over at least 3 times, and I've been very, very lucky because it was only on the 3rd occasion that I actually broke something. Now we spend an awful lot of money on camera equipment. I think my 6D with my 24 to 70mm lens is an investment of somewhere in the region of £1,500. And yet I trust a £100 tripod to keep that safe, so that's obviously ridiculous. So the next thing that I'm going to do, the next investment I'm going to make in my gear is going to be a much, much, much sturdier tripod. As you can see now, the wind has picked up, as I predicted, and that has broken the surface of the lake. So now I think that's a great opportunity to see how that little M10 will get on with long exposures. It's not bad, but I think I'd much rather be able to stick the big stopper in and go for a 2-minute exposure. For me, the worst thing about breaking my lens, more so than the cost of having it repaired, which was about £250, is the amount of time that I've been without it. Now, I broke my lens at the end of November, and it's now the beginning of January, so I've been without it for 6 weeks, and it doesn't look like I'm going to be getting it back anytime soon. And that's a real problem for me, because in a week's time, I'm due to go on holiday to Cuba for 2 weeks, and at this rate, I'm going to be using the M50. It has been a lovely morning, and I've actually quite enjoyed using the M10, although I don't think I'm quite ready to go mirrorless just yet. I'm going to pack up my gear now, but before I go, I'm going to take a selfie, and this selfie is going to be the thumbnail for this video. And what I'm going to try and do is accurately capture how I felt when I broke my lens.